The sun bathed the sprawling countryside estate in a golden glow, casting long shadows over the meticulously manicured gardens. The scent of blooming roses and lavender wafted through the air, mingling with the murmur of excited guests arriving in their finest attire. Inside the estate's grand bridal suite, Emma stood before a full-length mirror, adjusting the lace veil cascading down her back. Her reflection revealed a woman glowing with anticipation, though a hint of apprehension flickered in her eyes. Today was the beginning of a new chapter. Marrying Daniel, a successful and charismatic businessman, felt like a promise of stability and security, not just for her, but for her 9-year-old son, Noah. She glanced toward the corner of the room, where Noah sat perched on a velvet stool, fiddling nervously with the hem of his tuxedo jacket. "You look amazing, Mom," Noah said with a shy smile, his voice soft but filled with pride. "Thank you, sweetheart. And you look so handsome," Emma replied, her heart swelling. She crouched to fix his slightly crooked bow tie. Just then, Daniel entered, his tailored suit impeccable, every strand of his dark hair perfectly in place. He looked at Emma with a warm smile, but barely spared a glance at Noah before stepping closer. "Noah, your jacket is wrinkled," Daniel said, his tone clipped. He bent down to smooth the fabric, his movements brisk and mechanical. Noah shrank back slightly under Daniel's scrutiny. "He's fine, Daniel," Emma said gently, sensing Noah's unease. "Fine isn't good enough today," Daniel replied, rising to his full height. "This is an important day for all of us." Emma brushed aside the discomfort prickling at the back of her mind. She chalked it up to pre-wedding nerves. Daniel was under a lot of pressure, and she convinced herself he just wanted everything to be perfect. The ceremony unfolded like a scene from a storybook. Rows of white chairs were set against a backdrop of lush greenery, and the golden sunlight streamed through the canopy of trees. Emma walked down the aisle, her arm linked with her father's, while Noah carried the rings with solemn focus. As Noah neared the altar, his shoe caught on an uneven stone. He stumbled, catching himself just in time, but the guests chuckled softly. Emma's lips curved into a reassuring smile, but Daniel's expression darkened, his disapproving glance cutting through the idyllic scene. Emma's joy wavered for a moment, a flicker of doubt crossing her mind. But when she met Daniel's gaze, his smile had returned, and he held out his hand to her as the vows began. She pushed her unease aside, determined to focus on the happiness of the moment. The reception was in full swing, a celebration worthy of the grand estate. String lights twinkled overhead, casting a warm glow across the courtyard where guests laughed, clinked glasses, and danced to the upbeat rhythm of the live band. The air was rich with the aroma of roasted lamb and delicate pastries, creating an atmosphere of opulence and joy. Daniel moved effortlessly among the crowd, shaking hands, exchanging witty remarks, and charming everyone in his orbit. He was the picture of a perfect groom, exuding confidence and composure. From across the room, Emma watched him with a mix of admiration and unease. Noah, meanwhile, buzzed with excitement. The 9-year-old darted between the dessert table and the garden, his small feet kicking up gravel as he chased other children. His laughter rang out, light and carefree, though it earned a sharp glance from Daniel whenever he came too close to the main gathering. "Noah, slow down," Daniel said sternly at one point, his voice low enough to avoid attracting attention, but sharp enough to freeze the boy in his tracks. Noah nodded quickly and retreated to a quieter corner, his enthusiasm dampened. During dinner, the first crack appeared. Noah, eager to pass the breadbasket to a guest, accidentally knocked over a glass of water. The liquid spread across the pristine white tablecloth, drawing the eyes of nearby guests. Daniel stiffened. "Noah," he said, his voice icy, "can't you be more careful?" The room fell silent as the tension radiated from the head table. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, and Emma reached for Noah's hand, offering a reassuring squeeze. "It's just water, Daniel," she said softly, trying to ease the moment. Daniel didn't respond. His jaw clenched as he dabbed at the spill with a napkin. The air grew heavy, but the band resumed playing, and the chatter slowly returned, though the discomfort lingered. The breaking point came later, during dessert. Noah, eager to sample a slice of the lemon tart he'd been eyeing all evening, reached for a glass of juice on the table. In his excitement, his elbow nudged it off balance, sending the bright liquid cascading onto Daniel's custom-tailored suit. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Noah's face went pale, his small hands flying to his mouth in horror. Daniel shot to his feet, his expression dark with fury. "Are you kidding me?" Daniel's voice cut through the music and chatter, silencing the entire room. Before anyone could react, he raised his hand and struck Noah across the cheek, the sharp sound reverberating through the courtyard. "Noah!" Emma cried, rushing to her son, who stumbled back, tears streaming down his face. She pulled him into her arms, shielding him from Daniel's towering figure. The guests were frozen in shock, their disbelief etched across their faces. Sophia, Emma's best friend, was the first to break the silence. "Daniel, what is wrong with you?" she demanded, stepping forward. Ethan, Emma's brother, quickly moved to his sister's side, his protective instincts flaring. "You don't lay a hand on my nephew," he said, his voice low and threatening. Daniel looked around, suddenly aware of the judgmental stares from the guests. His charm and composure had crumbled, leaving him exposed. "He needs discipline," he muttered defensively, but his words only deepened the tension. Emma's voice trembled with anger and disbelief. "He's a child, Daniel. You don't get to hurt him, ever." The weight of the moment crushed the festive atmosphere. Emma gathered Noah in her arms, her resolve hardening as she walked away from the man she thought she knew. The joyous celebration had turned into a nightmare, one that would leave scars far deeper than the slap itself. The house was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the soft sniffles coming from Noah's room. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wedding bouquet she had tossed onto the floor hours earlier. The vibrant flowers now seemed to mock her, symbols of a happiness that had shattered before it even began. Her mind replayed the reception in agonizing detail. Daniel's icy glares, his sharp reprimands, and the slap that echoed louder in her heart than in the courtyard. But the slap wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of a pattern she could no longer ignore. Memories resurfaced, each one like a dagger. The time Daniel dismissed Noah's excitement over a school project as childish. The subtle frustration in his tone whenever Noah needed reassurance. The way his smiles for Emma never extended to her son. She had overlooked it all, blinded by her longing for a stable family, her hope that Daniel could be the missing piece in their lives. A knock at the door jolted her from her thoughts. She opened it to find Sophia standing there, her face a mixture of concern and determination. "I couldn't leave without checking on you," Sophia said, stepping inside and pulling Emma into a hug. "How's Noah?" "He's asleep, but—" Emma's voice broke. "Sophia, I don't know what to do. I thought Daniel would make everything better, not worse." Sophia led Emma to the couch, sitting beside her. "Listen to me, Emma. I know you wanted this to work, for you and for Noah. But Daniel showed his true colors tonight. You have to put Noah first. He's your priority, not Daniel." Emma buried her face in her hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was so desperate to give Noah a father figure. I didn't see the harm I was letting into our lives." Sophia placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not the first person to trust the wrong person. But you're strong, Emma, and you have me and Ethan and everyone who truly cares about you." Almost as if on cue, Ethan arrived. His protective nature had kicked into high gear since the reception. "How's Noah?" he asked immediately, his tone softening when he saw Emma's tear-streaked face. "He's scared," Emma admitted. "And so am I." "You have every right to be," Ethan said, sitting across from her. "But you can't let fear keep you here. Daniel doesn't deserve a second chance, Emma. You're stronger than this." The next morning, Emma mustered her courage and confronted Daniel in the living room. He was sipping coffee, as if the events of the previous night hadn't happened. "We need to talk," Emma said, her voice firm. Daniel looked up, his brow furrowing. "If this is about last night, I already told you. I was trying to teach Noah discipline. He needs boundaries, Emma." Boundaries? Emma's voice rose. You call hitting a child discipline? You've done nothing but make him feel small and unwanted. Daniel's expression hardened. You're overreacting. He's spoiled, Emma. I'm trying to help him grow up. No, Emma said, her resolve unshakable. You're tearing him down, and I won't let it happen anymore. What are you saying? Daniel asked, his tone laced with disbelief. I'm saying it's over, Emma said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. Noah and I are leaving. Daniel stood, anger flashing across his face. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. Emma met his gaze, unwavering. The only mistake I made was trusting you. With Noah by her side and Ethan helping to load their bags into his car, Emma left the house, leaving behind the man she once thought would save her family. She felt the weight of her decision, but for the first time in months, she also felt free. The law office of Martha King was an unassuming building nestled between high-rise complexes, its understated exterior belying the fierce reputation of the woman within. Emma sat in the waiting room, clutching a folder of documents and photos tightly to her chest. Every passing moment seemed to echo with the sound of Daniel's voice, his threats lingering like an unwelcome shadow. Beside her, Ethan offered a reassuring nod, silently promising his support. When Martha entered the room, her commanding presence immediately set Emma at ease. The lawyer's calm yet assertive demeanor carried the weight of countless victories for clients in situations like Emma's. She extended her hand, her grip firm. Emma Turner, Martha began, gesturing for her to follow into her office. I've reviewed your case briefly. Let's talk about how we're going to protect your son. Once seated, Emma recounted the events of the wedding and the turmoil that followed. Her voice wavered as she described Noah's fear and the growing unease that had consumed their lives. Martha listened intently, jotting notes on a yellow legal pad. Emma, Martha said finally, her voice steady, you've done the right thing by coming here. The first step is filing for a restraining order against Daniel, protecting both you and Noah. We'll base our case on multiple points: the incident at the wedding, Noah's visible distress, and the pattern of behavior you've described. Do you have evidence? Emma slid the folder across the desk. Inside were witness statements from Sophia and Ethan, photos of Noah's tear-streaked face after the wedding, and a video taken by a guest that showed Daniel's outburst in chilling clarity. Martha scanned the materials, her sharp eyes narrowing with determination. This is compelling, she said. Combined with the testimonies, we'll make a strong case. But Emma, you need to understand something. Daniel isn't going to back down easily. He'll fight this, and it could get messy. Are you ready for that? Emma nodded, her resolve hardening. I'll do whatever it takes to keep Noah safe. Over the next few days, Emma worked closely with Martha to build her case. She relived painful moments as she described Daniel's behavior, but each detail strengthened her determination. Noah's well-being was worth every ounce of discomfort. True to Martha's prediction, Daniel made his counter-move swiftly. A court summons arrived at Emma's temporary residence, informing her that Daniel had hired an aggressive lawyer and filed a petition for custody. In his filing, he accused Emma of being overprotective and claimed her actions were an attempt to alienate him from Noah. He's twisting everything, Emma said angrily as she handed the documents to Martha. Martha scanned the petition, her jaw tightening. This is classic manipulation, she said. He's trying to frame himself as the victim to gain sympathy, especially within your shared social circles. It's a tactic, Emma, but it won't hold up in court. Daniel's strategy extended beyond legal filings. Emma began receiving calls from acquaintances, repeating Daniel's claims that she was keeping Noah away out of spite. At one point, a mutual friend suggested she reconsider for Noah's sake, a comment that left Emma furious and heartbroken. Don't let this rattle you, Martha advised. The truth is on your side, and the evidence we have is irrefutable. Stay focused. This is about Noah, not anyone else's opinion. The courtroom was a stark contrast to the vibrant countryside estate where Emma had once believed her life was beginning anew. The sterile walls and quiet murmur of legal proceedings pressed down on her, amplifying the tension in the air. Emma sat at her table, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Across the room, Daniel sat with his lawyer, his expression carefully composed. He looked every bit the contrite father, but Emma knew the truth lurking beneath the polished exterior. Martha leaned over, her voice steady and calm. "Stay focused, Emma. Let the evidence speak for itself." The judge entered, commanding immediate silence. The hearing began with Daniel's lawyer presenting their case. He spoke eloquently, painting Daniel as a father who had made mistakes in the heat of the moment, but who was deeply committed to his son's well-being. "Mr. Calloway is a devoted father who regrets his actions," the lawyer stated. "He believes in providing structure and discipline to help Noah grow into a respectful and well-rounded individual. Denying him access to his son would not only be unfair, but detrimental to Noah's development." Daniel nodded solemnly, casting a fleeting glance toward Emma, his expression one of feigned remorse. When it was Martha's turn, she wasted no time dismantling their narrative. She began by outlining the events of the wedding, detailing Daniel's public outburst and the slap that had silenced an entire room. "Your Honor," Martha said, her voice sharp and unwavering, "this is not a case of a parent exercising discipline. This is about abuse, plain and simple. My client's son, Noah, has been subjected to physical and emotional harm at the hands of Mr. Calloway." Martha presented the evidence methodically. The video from the wedding played on a screen for the courtroom to see. Gasps rippled through the room as the footage showed Daniel's hand connecting with Noah's face, followed by the boy's tears and Emma's horrified reaction. The weight of the evidence was palpable, and even Daniel's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Next, Sophia and Ethan took the stand. Sophia described Daniel's controlling nature, recounting instances where he had belittled Noah and dismissed his feelings. Ethan's testimony added a protective edge, emphasizing Daniel's disregard for Noah's emotional well-being. "I've watched my sister bend over backward to make this work," Ethan said, his voice steady but filled with quiet anger. "But Daniel's behavior has done nothing but harm her and her son. Noah deserves to feel safe and loved, not afraid." Martha concluded by highlighting police reports documenting Daniel's violations of the restraining order. "Your Honor, this is a pattern of behavior. Mr. Calloway has shown no regard for the law or for Noah's safety. To grant him custody or visitation would be a grave mistake." The judge, a stern woman with years of experience, sat silently for a moment before delivering her verdict. "Mr. Calloway, the evidence presented today leaves no doubt. Your actions have been harmful, both physically and emotionally, to Noah. Effective immediately, the restraining order is extended for 1 year. Additionally, you are denied custody and visitation rights until further notice. You are ordered to attend anger management therapy and demonstrate significant improvement before this court will consider any changes to this ruling." Daniel's composure cracked, his face paling as the weight of the decision sank in. For Emma, the verdict was a moment of triumph. Relief flooded her as she realized she had secured Noah's safety, at least for now. But as she left the courtroom, holding her son's hand tightly, she couldn't shake the lingering unease. Daniel was unpredictable, and she knew the fight might not be over. The calm after the courtroom victory didn't last long. For a brief moment, Emma felt she could breathe, her home a sanctuary for her and Noah. But that peace was shattered when Daniel began violating the restraining order. It started subtly. One morning, Emma noticed Daniel's car parked across from Noah's school as she dropped him off. At first, she thought it was a coincidence, but the unease in her chest lingered. The following day, he was there again, his presence deliberate, his eyes following them from a distance. Noah clung to Emma's hand, his small frame trembling as they approached the school gates. "Mom," he whispered, his voice shaky. "Why is he here?" Emma crouched down, meeting her son's fearful gaze. "Don't worry, sweetheart," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "He can't hurt us. I promise." That afternoon, Emma sat in Martha's office, her frustrations spilling over as she recounted the events. "He's not stopping, Martha. He's trying to intimidate us." Martha leaned back in her chair, her sharp eyes narrowing. "This is a clear violation of the restraining order. We'll escalate this with the authorities immediately." The incidents didn't stop there. A few days later, Emma saw Daniel standing near her office building, leaning casually against a lamppost as though he belonged there. His presence was a reminder of the control he still wanted to exert over her life. She hurried inside, her hands trembling as she dialed Martha. "He's here again," she said, her voice taut with anger. "We'll notify the police," Martha assured her. "This isn't just harassment, Emma. It's a deliberate attempt to undermine the court's decision." The toll on Noah was heartbreaking. The once vibrant, curious boy grew quieter with each passing day. He spent more time in his room, avoiding his favorite activities. At dinner, he pushed his food around his plate, barely eating. One evening, as Emma tucked him into bed, Noah clung to her hand. "Mom, what if he comes back?" he asked, his wide eyes brimming with tears. Emma's heart broke at the fear in his voice. She wrapped him in her arms, holding him tightly. "He won't, Noah," she said firmly. "I won't let him hurt you again. You're safe with me." Determined to take action, Martha filed an official complaint with the police. Days later, Daniel was summoned to the station for questioning. The officers didn't mince words as they issued him a stern warning. "Mr. Calloway," one officer said, his tone firm, "your actions are a violation of the restraining order. If this behavior continues, you'll face severe legal consequences, including possible arrest." Daniel's expression remained unreadable, but the cold fire in his eyes hinted that the warning wouldn't be enough to stop him. Back at home, Emma tried to reassure herself that the legal system would protect them. But the shadows of doubt crept in, Daniel's defiance casting a long shadow over their lives. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension as Emma stepped inside, clutching a folder of documents that held the weight of her case and her son's future. Across the aisle, Daniel sat beside his lawyer, his polished demeanor as impenetrable as ever. His calm smile felt like a taunt, a reminder that he would fight tooth and nail to regain control. Daniel's latest petition was a calculated move, accusing Emma of alienating Noah from him and portraying himself as a victim of her overprotective parenting. It was a bold strategy, designed to exploit sympathy and cast doubt on Emma's motives. Martha sat beside Emma, her confidence unwavering. "Stay focused," she whispered. "He's playing a game, but we have the truth on our side." The hearing began with Daniel's lawyer delivering an impassioned argument. "Your Honor, my client has faced significant barriers in his efforts to maintain a relationship with his son," he stated. "Ms. Turner's actions have made it impossible for Mr. Calloway to fulfill his role as a father. Every child deserves the love and guidance of both parents, and denying Mr. Calloway this opportunity is not in Noah's best interest." Daniel nodded solemnly, his gaze directed at the judge, his performance carefully measured. Martha stood next, her presence commanding. "Your Honor," she began, "the evidence shows a very different picture. Mr. Calloway's actions have been neither loving nor in Noah's best interest. This is not about a father being alienated. It's about a pattern of intimidation, harassment, and abuse." She presented the evidence with precision. Detailed police reports documenting Daniel's violations of the restraining order, witness testimonies from the wedding, and most damning of all, the video of the slap. The courtroom fell silent as the footage played once more, the sound of the strike echoing through the room. The judge's expression hardened. Martha continued, her voice steady but impassioned. "Mr. Calloway has consistently shown disregard for the law and for Noah's emotional well-being. His behavior has left a lasting psychological impact on a vulnerable child, and his lack of remorse only reinforces the need for strong legal intervention." Sophia and Ethan testified again, recounting their first-hand experiences of Daniel's controlling tendencies and the fear he had instilled in Noah. "Noah is terrified of him," Sophia said, her voice breaking slightly. "That's not what a father-child relationship should be." When it was Daniel's turn to speak, his demeanor shifted. He attempted to defend his actions as discipline and claimed Emma was exaggerating the incidents. But the evidence was too overwhelming, and the judge's stern gaze seemed to chip away at his facade. After hours of testimony and arguments, the judge delivered her verdict. Her voice was firm, leaving no room for ambiguity. "Mr. Calloway," she began, "the court finds that your actions have caused significant harm to Noah, both physically and emotionally. Your continued violations of the restraining order and lack of accountability demonstrate an inability to prioritize your child's well-being. Effective immediately, the restraining order is made permanent, and your parental rights are suspended indefinitely. Furthermore, your behavior will be subject to ongoing monitoring, and any future petitions will require substantial evidence of rehabilitation." Daniel's composure shattered. He stood to protest, but the judge silenced him with a sharp glare. "Enough, Mr. Calloway. This court will not tolerate further outbursts." Emma's breath caught as relief and emotion overwhelmed her. Tears filled her eyes as she turned to Martha, who gave her a reassuring nod. Outside the courtroom, Emma hugged Noah tightly, her heart finally at ease. "You're safe now," she whispered, her voice trembling with both relief and determination. For the first time in months, Emma felt a profound sense of security. The battle had been grueling, but she had fought for her son's future, and won. As they walked away from the courthouse hand in hand, she knew this wasn't just a victory in court, but a triumph of love and resilience. The weeks following the final court ruling were a time of quiet rebuilding for Emma and Noah. Their new home, a cozy house with a small garden, became a sanctuary. It wasn't grand, but it was filled with peace and love, everything they had been missing. Emma threw herself into creating a stable environment for Noah. She painted his bedroom walls a cheerful sky blue, decorated with glow-in-the-dark stars. Together, they planted a small herb garden in the backyard, where Noah carefully tended to basil and parsley with the same diligence he once reserved for his favorite toys. Slowly but surely, Noah began to transform. His laughter returned, tentative at first, then fuller and more carefree. He started making friends at school again and eagerly shared stories about his day at dinner. For Emma, each smile was a reminder of why she had fought so hard. Sophia and Ethan were constants in their lives, pillars of support that Emma could always lean on. Sophia often dropped by with baked goods or to watch movies with Emma, their evenings filled with warmth and laughter. Ethan, meanwhile, became more involved, not just as a protective brother, but as a steady presence for both Emma and Noah. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch watching Noah ride his bike in the cul-de-sac, Ethan broke the comfortable silence. "You've done something incredible, Emma," he said, his voice soft but filled with admiration. "What you went through, it would have broken most people. But you stood tall. You protected Noah and yourself." Emma turned to him, touched by his words. "I didn't feel strong most of the time," she admitted. "I was terrified. But Noah, he gave me the strength I needed." Ethan nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "And now, you're building something beautiful. You should be proud of that. I know I am." There was something in his tone, something unspoken yet undeniably warm. Emma felt a flicker of emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Later that evening, as Emma tucked Noah into bed, he looked up at her with sleepy eyes. "Mom, are we happy now?" Emma smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Yes, sweetheart. We're happy, and we always will be." After Noah fell asleep, Emma sat by the living room window, gazing at the stars. She reflected on her journey, the heartbreak, the battles, the moments of doubt. It had been a storm, but she had emerged stronger. "I'll always protect you, Noah," she whispered to herself, "no matter what." The story ended not with grand gestures, but with simple, heartfelt moments. Noah laughing in the sunlight, Emma finding strength in herself, and the promise of a brighter, more peaceful future. It was a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the courage to stand against the shadows of the past. What do you think about Emma and Noah's journey? If you were in Emma's shoes, how would you handle such a difficult and emotional situation? Take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Your insights and feedback are incredibly valuable and help us improve our storytelling. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. By supporting us, you're encouraging the creation of more heartfelt, thought-provoking stories that connect us all. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story and any experiences or perspectives you'd like to share. Thank you for being part of this journey, and may your day be filled with peace, strength, and inspiration. Stay tuned for more incredible stories coming your way.